FXB Climate Advocates Climate Conversations. I am thrilled to launch this series of dialogues with FXB climate advocates around the world. So today we have Ewi Lama, who will introduce herself and share a little bit more about her climate work. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Karina. And I must comment that being an FXB climate participant has been one of the best decisions I made in my life. And I'm called Ewi Lama. I am an environmental and climate justice advocate. And also I'm a UN Global Climate Action Ambassador. I'm based in Cameroon, in Limbe. And I've been working as an environmental and climate justice advocate with women for the past 10 years, raising the voices of rural women to decision-making platforms and programs in Cameroon, and also working with young people as climate change ambassadors by building their capacities through eco clubs and other climate leadership programs across Cameroon. So presently, I am working together with a team of young people in Cameroon to host the local conference of youth, which is a component of the UNFCCC Yongo platform that allows young people across different countries and nationalities to come together and talk about environmental issues affecting their countries and be able to develop a policy document that will be presented at the Conference of the Parties in Dubai this year. Thank you very much.
Amazing. It's so inspiring what you're doing. Can you tell me a little bit about what it was like growing up in Cameroon? Did you learn about climate change or environmental protection? And when did you personally become passionate and interested in this topic? Was there a specific moment or was it over time? Thank you.
Yes, growing up in Cameroon, I grew up in a rural community, and I didn't notice the aspects of climate change, though they were happening around me. At that tender age, it was more like things are just difficult. Nature is just acting weird. Everything is just so difficult. And we had issues with carrying water at home. We had to go distances to get potable water. And at some point, we didn't even have good land to cultivate on because all the land was degraded, and we had to move far into the forest to be able to get the best land for cultivation. And then it happened at some point, we started experiencing different weather conditions, like there were heavy rainfalls, extreme sunshine, and then our seasonal calendar started changing. So while growing up, I actually wanted to be more of I wanted to be a politician because I always have that dream to be the president of my country one day. So I thought I could study maybe public international relations or something like that. But as I grew up and I noticed some of these things that were happening around me, and then my mom was an inspiration because she decided to focus on the earth as a means for our survival when we lost our dads at a very young age. She took us to the farms. She made us know we could get everything we needed from the farm, and we didn't have to depend on someone or somebody to get all of these resources. I began gaining a lot of interest on the soil, on what the soil was producing. And then I grew up and decided to take interest in science. So studying environmental science at the university gave me a deeper understanding of what the environment was all about, the challenges that were facing the environment. And then I heard one day about climate change in class, and I decided to go back and do a deep investigation on what climate change was. Then I was like, okay, this is something I could really focus on because I see a real need for support in different communities and across my own community. So what happened was I decided to volunteer after my degree program from the university. I decided to volunteer as a research assistant with this not-for-profit organization that was based around environmental protection and other things on improvement. So it took me like over 10 years already working with this organization. and I began understanding different aspects of what was the reality on the ground. Then, sometime after 6 years of volunteering, I picked interest on climate change with women in particular, because in the course of my volunteering with this organization, we visited quite a number of communities. And in these communities, I noticed that women were absent in every decision-making platform and program that we went to these communities and we were having with the communities. We were talking about their natural resource management. We didn't see women in the meetings. We didn't see young people. So that was when I was like, okay, why don't I bring the voices of the most vulnerable people, the most affected people that are neglected on these decision-making platforms and tables. And from that day, I started raising my voice, empowering these women, building their capacities on different programs around climate change, and making sure that their voices were brought to the table. If there were no seats for them at the table, I'll make sure we create a room for seats to be placed there so these women can also sit. And then with time, I realized that it's not just a focus on women. Climate change, we have a brunt on the younger generation over time. And if we don't handle this today, what will happen is we'll see have another generation of people who have no idea about the impact of climate change and how they can be able to mitigate them. That's where I went in with my team to start establishing eco clubs in schools, climate change clubs in schools, where we use art as a major tool to build capacities of young people, on climate change issues and raise them up as climate change ambassadors. And I will tell you, the journey has not been easy. It has been very successful too. And I'm grateful that at some point I was able to get recognition by the United Nations as a global climate action ambassador.
Thank you. That's so amazing. Tell me a little bit about women. So we know from there's evidence that women are most impacted by climate change, but how are women impacted by climate change in your community? And what specific topics or skills are you working to build the capacity in women around?
Thank you very much, Karina. I think women are impacted differently in different communities. And in my community, we have women who do most of the work within the homes. They have to get water, they have to get firewood, they have to get food for the families, they have to go taking care of the children and all of that. So I will go back to my research. Now, where I was doing my master's research and investigating on why women were excluded in climate change programs, some of the results I got were this. First, the women were considered to be the property of the man, and they had to only go by what the man chose for them. They were not educated because most communities did not give women an opportunity to go to school. And some of these women, since they did not go to school, they could not earn white collar jobs or whatever color you call it. They didn't have those jobs. So at the end of the day, they stayed home. They were poor. They could not do anything around really contributing to community development because they did not have the finances. And one of the things I had in one of the conversations was that women don't own land. So why should we give them a position to make decisions that have to do with land and the management of land? And when I actually got this, I realized that women were sustainable users of the forest. They go into the forest, they harvest non-timber forest products like bush mango that we have in Cameroon, rhinodendron. They harvest herbs, they harvest vegetables in the forest, and they don't cut down any trees. Now, we have our policymakers, we have governments, we have companies that get into this same forest that these women depend on for their livelihoods. And they cut down these trees that provide the non-timber forest products for the women, these same trees that provide the medicines for the women, and these same trees that provide the herbs that the women need, the vegetables that the women need to be able to sustain their homes. When there's no water at home, the women have to walk miles to search for water. The men don't go looking for water, the women do. So if it has to take 5 kilometers, they will go 5 kilometers to get this water back to the house. And when there is no food, the women are more concerned. Sometimes they give up their portions of food for their children to eat, and they make sure their husbands have the lion's shares of whatever is being prepared at home. So there is an aspect of food insecurity that comes in, that is women experience, an aspect of water shortage, an aspect of income that is being thwarted from indirectly from the forest. And above that, now food insecurity even amplifies when trees are cut down in the forest, because weather conditions become different, and now seasonal calendars change. These women depend on their farms to make a living. And when the seasonal calendars change, the rain falls when it's not supposed to fall, the sun shines when it's not supposed to shine. Now their crops don't understand these changes in temperatures, these changes in climate, and their crops begin to experience all of this damage that comes from them. They wither, they die, they dry up. Some of them don't yield as they had to yield. And now there is food shortage at home, and it falls back on these same women. So these are some of the experiences within these communities that we've noted over the period of 10 years.
So what are some ways to address these challenges? What are some of the work that you do? What specific topics or skills do you focus on with the women that you work with?
Yes, one of the things that we've done with these women is first trying to build their capacities on sustainable livelihood options. And we've showed them, okay, since you can't have this product from the forest, maybe because it has been destroyed, it has been damaged and all of that, let's try to cultivate this. Now, with some of these women have introduced projects like vegetable farming, where we are farming on huge degraded portions of land. We have over like 3 hectares of land that have been degraded, and we decided to restore this soil by farming vegetables in it. And this has helped these women to have a source of income, a source of food. And also, what interests me more from this is that from the vegetables that are cultivated on this land, the women are able to sell, and then we are able to pay the school fees of some of their children from these farms. So their children tend to go to school. These women have a salary from these farms, and these women also have food from these same farms. And then their capacities and skills are built. We make sure that they have a portion of land where they can replicate these skills in their communities. We monitor them, mentor them, and create a market link where their vegetables are sold to companies that can process and package them and export abroad. So this is one of the strategies that we've introduced in these communities. And the second strategy we've introduced has been processing transformation of non-timber forest products like bush mango, rhinodendron. We've introduced this into these communities. We've taught them how to transform bush mango into cubes. And by transforming them into cubes, they're able to give it a brand, and they can sell to different markets, and they have money that they can be able to take care of themselves. Secondly, we've advocated at the councils. We've advocated at the councils so far in over 164 communities that I've worked in. We've been able to develop 20 forest management policies that have been adopted by some of these communities that brings the voices of women at the table, at decision-making platforms and tables. And a few weeks ago, I was having a meeting with these women where we're building their capacities on climate leadership. We came to understand that climate change has some difficult terms. Like, these women don't understand what mitigation is, what adaptation is, what carbon sink is. So we had to break it down to them through a climate leadership training where we used what is around them to teach them these different terms and concepts. And it was amazing because after this workshop with the women, it was a 2 days focus group meeting with the women. After this 2 days focus group meeting, we brought together a 1-day stakeholder meeting where stakeholders around the community forest we are working came together and discussed on a gender action plan that was developed by the women to manage their community forest. This gender action plan was reviewed by these stakeholders, and today we have a policy document that have been developed, and we are putting resources together to lobby the different ministries and organizations in Cameroon to see that the recommendations on this policy document are being implemented and are followed. So those are some of the ways that we've worked with the women to build their capacities and to raise their voices. And one of the things I still want to do, and I'm looking forward to, is that I want to get to a point where some of these women in these communities can be able to represent their communities firsthand at conference, at COPs, because I believe that, yes, I can represent these women at the conference of parties, but I feel that if they can tell their stories by themselves, it will make more meaning and it will create more impact.
Thank you. It's amazing how universally women really hold up the society, right? And it across geographies, really women are the pillars. And that's why, any kind of, whether it's a global pandemic, climate change, or really women are the ones bearing the burden, right, of these kind of major events. So the work that you're doing sounds really incredible. And I'm sure these women are also inspiring other women in their community to get involved, because we know that oftentimes women kind of get inspiration and mentored by other women. And I'm sure it's having a really major ripple effect. Thank you for explaining that. And now I want to learn more about the work with young people. Tell me a little bit about how do young people that you work with perceive sort of climate change? Are they concerned? Are they feeling the impact? Are they impatient? Like, what is sort of the mood, and what is the work that you do with young people to get their voices heard?
Thank you, Karina. When I started working with people in I think I did not mention that my focus has been in forest communities across Cameroon. And when I started working with people in these communities, especially young people in schools, I realized that none of them had an idea of what climate change was, because I decided to work from a very primary level for children between the ages of 5 to 15 years old. So I realized that none of them even understood what climate change was. They knew that something was happening in the atmosphere. They knew that change was occurring, but they did not understand what was creating this change. And that was where I collaborated with the Creative Action Institute, which uses art as a tool to build capacities of individuals or organizations in whatever concepts they want to introduce. So through the resources that I was able to get from them, I was able to transform climate knowledge into a manual, where the Pan-African Center for Climate Policy actually helped me in developing that manual. We developed that manual and made it very creative and exciting, such that instead of having a traditional classroom experience, we had more games, more fun, and more exciting things that took the children out of the classroom. And in this way, we went through the session for the first 3 months, and we realized that it was working. Children were able to assimilate climate change knowledge over a short period of time, and they could take so much knowledge because for them it was games, for them it was playing, and for them it was more fun. And we've continued doing that. So far, we've reached over 2,000 children in 20 schools in Cameroon. And we started with just one school, and then we moved on to building capacities of teachers in other schools by having a 3 days creative act workshop with these teachers, how to establish eco clubs in the schools. So we had 2 teachers from each school, from 15 schools. We had 2 teachers from each of these schools, where we taught them how to set up their own eco clubs. We provided them with the materials to set up their own eco clubs. And we've gone from one eco club to another, monitoring what they are doing and trying to build capacities of more students. One of the best things that entices me about the work we've done with children is that for the very first time in Cameroon, we set up a climate change parade, which was implemented in Limbe, and we had over 100 children who marched the streets of Limbe talking about climate change, raising their voices to what was happening around climate change, and then mobilizing community members. We had their parents come out, the chief of the community come out. We had bike users stand on the road, and they were ready to engage with us. And then we went to another level of working with young people by introducing football as a tool to mobilize youth in climate action. We have been bringing together young people from disaster-prone areas in my community where they play football, and in the course of playing football, we give them periods where they have to plant a certain number of trees, and the winning team gets to plant more trees. During World Environment Day, we brought in a new concept where we we mobilize motorbike riders. In Cameroon, we have so many motorbike riders that use the roads, and we noticed an issue of our trees planted along the road that were being destroyed. So we thought, okay, what's the best way of keeping these trees safe, if not working with people who use the roads more? So we decided to work with motorbike riders, and they planted so many trees along the road. And that was a way for us to tell them, hey, you have to monitor the tree you planted. And this is how we work with young people across our communities in Cameroon. And the truth is, it has helped us to have more people monitoring our activities. And it has also helped us to have a wider reach. And it has helped us to raise more awareness across our communities. And young people are getting to understand much more now what climate change is in our communities. And hey, let me not forget about the radio programs we run, where we bring young people to these panels and get them to talk about what they understand on climate change and how they are working to resolve the climate issues in their own communities. And last but not the least, we've organized pageants, pageants where we have Miss Environment that is actually crowned because of her ability to take action in the community, to plant trees, to mobilize young people, to encourage more people in climate action. Those are some of the creative strategies we've used across our communities to build young people's capacities on climate change.
Yeah, I love the creativity and also the joy, right? And playing games or these activities. So I think one of the challenges in working with young people on climate change is that there's a lot of kind of doom and gloom, which, it certainly is a dire situation, but young people don't necessarily respond to that, right? Young people want to feel joy and, they want to be creative. They want to feel hopeful, right? So I love the activities that you've done. And I think that's really the best way for young people to learn and to really for themselves, right? To reflect for themselves why this matters and why they should be involved. So that's really great. And I would love to learn from you more about how we can use that manual, if possible, or adapt it to some of the countries where FXB works, as well as for our climate advocates who are always searching for really innovative and engaging climate education materials, that beyond sort of the traditional classroom kind of content. Yeah, that would be, thank you. And I wanted to ask you about how did you get involved with sort of the United Nations and like from the beginning and what kind of things you've done, and tell me a little bit about your attendance to COP28 and what you'll be presenting on. And then it may be advice for other young people who want to get involved in these venues for young people to have a voice at the UN. Thank you.
You're welcome, Karina. And yes, I'll make available the manual for you, and so that you can be able to share with other young people, because we need this preaching to go as far as possible, and we need more action on the ground. Now, getting to being a UN Global Climate Action Ambassador, that is like a dream come true to me, and I feel really happy to have been given that recognition out of 10,000 applicants across the globe. So I was like, okay, this is amazing. And this had to happen because the African Climate Reality Project realized, they saw the work I was doing, and they were like, Ewi, we need to come to Cameroon. We need to put your work on video. We need to make sure your work is documented, and we need to show this to the world. And they decided to put my work into play, into a documentary. And I was surprised one day when they called me up and they were like, Ewi, your documentary has been recognized for the UN Global Climate Action Award. And it was amazing because it was something I never saw coming, but I've always wanted to work with the United Nations and to always have something affiliated to the United Nations somehow. And this for me was like a start of a new beginning. I was beginning to get to where I want to go. I'm not there yet, but it made me motivated. And I felt like, okay, now I'm getting to where I want to go and I'm being recognized somehow. However, I still feel like young people's voices are still not being heard enough. Young people's voices are still in the background, especially within our national levels, especially around Cameroon. I feel like We need, and across many countries in Africa, we need our leaders to recognize that young people are creating impact. Young people have enough energy. They are doing a lot of work. Sometimes people ask me, do you even have time to rest because you do so much? That's because I have the energy right now. And if I get older, I might not be that strong. So why don't our countries, our nations, our governments see a need to impact more on young people at this time when they have all the energy, they have all the ideas, they have everything that they can be able to make use of and to go. Just getting a recognition is a great way to boost passion. It's a great way to boost motivation and to inspire more young people to go into the work that they're doing. I cannot count the number of young people who have decided to get into climate action because they came around me and realized that I was recognized as a UN climate change ambassador. They felt inspired and they were like, okay, so one day I can also be recognized for the work I do. Young people do so much work. Nobody recognizes them. Nobody gives them the applause that they need to be given. And they become demotivated. And at some point they give up on what they are doing and they go back home feeling depressed, feeling like they failed. But they never failed. It's just because somebody did not give them the place they wanted to go. When we started this call, I said, if they are not sit at the table, my coach made this statement. I have always taken it along, and I say it everywhere. If there are not seats at the table, we should create room to bring in more seats. That table can never be full. We don't all have to lean on the table like I'm leaning now. What we need to do is just give room so everybody can be around the table and we can have these conversations. And there are intelligent young people out there. There are smart young people out there taking wonderful actions in their communities. I mean, you need to see how young people are dealing with plastics, how young people are dealing with waste, how young people are bringing on technology to mitigate climate issues around our communities. Nobody is recognizing this. Nobody is seeing this. Nobody is saying anything about this. And it's really sad because it's high time that voices of young people are brought to the table, especially at the conferences of the parties. I'm very grateful because the UNFCCC decided to bring up the Yongo platform where it has given an opportunity for youth and children to have a voice where they can discuss and also make themselves known at conferences like COP. And for you, other young people who do not have or are not yet registered to these platforms, it's important for them to register on these platforms so that their voices can be heard. Their voices can start by just signing on a document and sending it forward. Their voices can be heard by participating in meetings online and by being part of discussions at a local level. But they should make sure that everything that they do is documented. They are making use of the media and they're making use of every platform and opportunity that they have to ensure that their voices are heard at every level. If they cannot take you to the table, take the social media into action. Make sure you use your Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, use all of those medias to make your voice heard. And one day you will be called up because your voice has reached the quarters where it had to go.
That's really powerful. Can you tell me a little bit about the Youngo platform and what that's like and how you've been involved in that and the conference that you're now organizing? I know we have many advocates who are involved. Can any young person join Youngo? How does that work?
Yes, Youngo is open to young people between the ages of 18 right up to 35 and even more, because it gives an opportunity for young people to come together from all over the world to talk about different aspects affecting our environment. And any young person can register into Youngo. Youngo is actually a youth wing of the UNFCCC, the United Nations Framework for Climate Change and for climate change. So it is actually the youth wing of this framework, and it gives young people an opportunity for their voices to be heard in different domains, whether it be water management, whether it be nature, whether it be health and climate change, whatever domain that's affecting the environment. There are all of these thematic areas. within this Yongo constituency that every young person can find and they can get an interest. I can share the link to the platform with you, Karina, and you can put it up for any young person who want to be a part of it. Now, what the Yongo has is they have regional conferences of regional conferences of youth, and they also have local conferences of youth. And the local conferences of youth is what gives young people an opportunity to host conferences or whatever programs they want in their countries, and then bring up whatever decisions they put together to the national level and also at the international level through the Yongo platform. Now in Cameroon, this is what we are going to be doing. We are working with the Ministry of Youth and Civic Education in Cameroon to put together this event in Cameroon, which will be hosted on the 18th and 19th of October. So this event is going to be a 3-day event, but we are going to have the first day at a local community, a local town in Cameroon, where we feel that this town was exempted from the national determined contributions in Cameroon and also in the Cameroon Strategic Development Goal Plan. So we want to have discussions within these communities so we can raise concerns of people in these communities to the national level. And then at the national level, we have a 2-day meeting with the ministries, with private institutions, with international non-governmental organizations, and many more, embassies, banks, and all, to call their attention to what is happening around climate change, to what is happening around environmental protection, and how their contributions count to these problems, and how they can also work in solving these problems at their own level, holding them responsible for their commitments that they have made before now, so they can take action to instill these commitments, and then identifying all gaps within our national documents and presenting it so that our ministries can recognize these gaps and adopt them into future policies within the national territory. So that's what we're going to be doing. And we will have a few webinars that we bring together people from different parts of the world to also participate on it prior to Yongo. So this is going to be an exciting moment where we'll have young people. We are hoping to have over 500 young people in Cameroon come together and have these discussions with us within these 2 days. And we'll be able to raise a great policy document that will be submitted to Yongo for it to be reviewed at the conference of the party in Dubai. So in Dubai, this year, one of the conversations I'm going to be having is on fossil fuels and climate finance, because I'm working on a documentary yet to be produced, but it's going to be launched at the conference of the parties. And this documentary, we are actually very focused about issues on fossil fuels, and we are calling on fossil fuel companies across Africa to stop their activities and let African communities be able to solve their problems, because indigenous knowledge has been valuable from the time past, and it is still very important even into the future. And we want to give young people across Africa to be able to blend innovation and indigenous knowledge and see how they can push the climate adaptation strategy further across the different communities in the South, in the global South. And this is because we feel that young people have not been given these platforms, but they have all of these innovations and the capacities. And if they can be able to meet with older people, get past knowledge, they will be able to do a great deal in working towards climate solutions across the global South.
And will you show the documentary at the COP in Dubai? Wow.
Yes, sure. It will be presented at the COP in Dubai.
That's amazing. Will there be other young people with you attending the COP28 that you work with?
Yes, this documentary is actually capturing 5 different countries across Africa. We're going to have Uganda, Mozambique, Nigeria, I think Mali and Cameroon. And we are telling our stories based on different things happening within our context. And these people will be telling this story and will be raising their voices towards the same goal on climate adaptation and climate finance, and also fossil fuel termination across the different countries in the global south.
Wow, I look forward to it. Thank you. I guess you're so confident and so knowledgeable. What advice would you give to young people who want to be involved but feel hesitant or scared? They're saying, well, I'm a young person, what change can I make? How would you kind of encourage them, or what would you recommend for young people to get involved in their communities?
Thank you, Karina. I think it's something that I always love to talk about, because one of the things I always wanted, I think about now, is I would have been even more happier if I knew about climate justice, climate advocacy at maybe when I was maybe like 10. I would have even been more happy, because I feel like I would have done a lot more, and I would have been able to engage communities even further. So I call on young people every day today and in the nearest future that climate change is real. And if you've decided to take action towards climate change, climate advocacy, climate justice today, you've not made a mistake. Let me tell you something, it's going to be challenging. Sometimes you will be minimized. Sometimes people will actually shun you and they'll tell you to keep quiet because you are just too young and you know nothing what is happening around the environment. Sometimes, like for me, a woman, they will tell you are just a young girl, and the voice of women should not be heard in such decisions that have to deal with policies and engaging other people. But one of the things I would advise is don't give up. You have to be able to maintain your strategy, maintain your confidence. It's a gradual process. Grow, identify a unique area and stick to it. Work on that space until your voice is heard. Don't go about doing everything because you want to be everywhere. Focus. Focus is the key word. And when you focus, you'll be able to do even much more than you would have done if you were spread out.
That's great advice. Thank you. I have two quick questions for you. Can you define what is climate justice? I know that's like a term. What does it mean to you? Because you said you're a climate justice activist.
To me, climate, thank you. I think in Cameroon, that's something that it's gaining its fame in Cameroon right now, because climate justice in Cameroon has not really had a great footing. Climate justice is actually, it is not war. Let me start with what it is not. Climate justice is not war. Climate justice is not violence. Climate justice is not creating division. Climate justice is actually understanding what has to be done within the context of climate change and giving everybody a platform to contribute to the solutions on climate change. And what we do with climate justice is we ensure that equity is brought in, inclusion is brought in, and also different backgrounds are considered. And we don't limit it to politicians. We don't limit it to politics. It is not politics. So it is giving everybody equity, giving everybody inclusion to make decisions and to contribute to solving the climate crisis that we find ourselves in.
Yeah, that's a really great definition. Thank you. And then another question for you is, what is it like for you to be a woman activist on climate change in Cameroon? Is it difficult, and have you faced any challenges because of that? Oh, no.
Oh my goodness. Yes. It's very difficult. It's very difficult. I grew up very shy, really very shy, and it was so difficult for me to speak up. And when I began getting to study more around the issues happening within my community and what was happening, and I felt like I needed a voice. Many times I will go somewhere to tell people, this is not right. You have to do this way. And I could not even talk because my voice will be trembling. And sometimes I'm talking like I want to cry. Then sometimes people will tell me, you don't even know what you want to say. Please get out of here. You don't even understand what you have to do. And I will go back home crying and I will feel really demoralized. But as time went on, I decided to build my capacity. I decided to build my momentum to be able to speak. I studied books on public speaking. I had to build my confidence. I had to build my communication skills. And then one day I realized, wow, I was talking and I could be able to defend my idea before people without trembling or without any fear. I knew exactly what I wanted to present and I knew what I wanted to talk about. I knew what I was doing. I was not faking my stories. I was saying what I was doing. And I could be able to go now to communities. There are communities that have gone there and they told me, you're just a woman, you're a young girl. Please leave this place. A woman does not speak when men have to speak. And yes, that is some cultures. But at some point I had to tell them, okay, I'm sorry, I'm a woman, I'm a young girl. I don't have to speak when men have to speak. But please, can you just give me 2 minutes of your time? Let me express myself just for a minute and then you'll decide whether I have to speak or not. And oftentimes I've used this technique to steal into the minds of the people. And when they give me their 2 minutes, I'm able to tell them something and they're like, okay, please sit. Let's listen to everything you have to say. And then I get the opportunity to tell them my story. There are points where I went to some communities in my early years and the men in the community told me I was coming to destroy the mindsets of their women. So, so I had to prove to them I was not talking anything that would destroy their homes, but something that would build their homes. And when they started seeing some of their women coming in with money to support in household contributions, they became more impressed. And today, some chiefs will call me up and they will ask, why have you not come to my community to work this period? And I have to tell them, I'm sorry, we are working with other communities now. And above all, Karina, the truth is, at some point there have been challenges you see in communities, but there are no finances to be able to support this work. And then you get to a point where now I have to use my personal resources to be able to support work in some communities, just so that I feel the satisfaction and I can see the people smile. Because it always blesses me when I see these women happy and smiling for the knowledge they have been able to acquire and also how much information they have able to get that has helped them to improve on their livelihoods and even on that of their children. So those are some of the challenges that I experience on a daily basis, and I've been able to overcome some. Some we are still working in the process of overcoming it, and we know that the future still has many more coming, but we'll still be able to overcome because we're building our capacity.
Thank you. I cannot imagine you being shy. You're so confident and well-spoken, but that was so interesting to learn about. And I'm sure you're a role model to other young girls and young women, because that's where we can't really be things that we can't see. So when the other young women see you, I'm sure they're inspired and start speaking up as well. And that's really powerful. And just to wrap up, I wanted to ask you what your experience was like with FXB Climate Advocates, and we're now recruiting for the fall cohort, and why you think young people should apply and participate in the FXB Climate Advocates program.
One of the greatest experiences I had at
Ewi? Oh, you froze. Ewi? This is so good.
we're able to work together with this team to ensure that done at our own part, at different levels and at different times. And one of the other things that made me enjoy being a part of FXB was the fact that the resources that were provided, they were simple. Yes, the context was easy. It was easy to assimilate information. It was easy to interact. It was easy to put together ideas because of the information that was presented to us. And then there is this wide network of climate change activists that you meet on the platform, and I've been connecting with lots of them. We've had several webinars with most of them, and it has really been exciting and amazing. I will not lie. And every day there are resources on this platform, projects, programs that we keep tapping into and are benefiting from daily. I have shared the link for FXB to a wide range of friends and networks across Cameroon. And every day I tell young people, if you are not a member of FXB, then you're one of the greatest climate change platforms in the world, because you have a family where you can be able to meet up with them at any time. You can be able to call them at any time and they are available. I cannot remember how many times I've written to you, Karina, both on WhatsApp and on email, and you respond at the very available moment that you can. And to me, it's touching, and it makes me feel belonging. And I see a family where I belong to that can be able to reply to me at my beck and call. So the FXB community simplifies climate change for you. It gives you an opportunity as a young person who has never even known what climate change is, to get to understand the basics of climate change and to grow and improve yourself on the climate change knowledge and ideas. And yes, you have a wonderful network of climate change activists across the globe. And I don't know if it's selected. Each and every person I've reached on the platform have been very nice to me. We've collaborated well, and we've had some beautiful projects that have gone across our interactions and partnerships.
Thank you so much. Well, we'll have over 20 advocates, I believe maybe 25 advocates attend the COP28 in Dubai. So I will be there only for part of it, but we will try to convene all of us there in person, which is so exciting. And, you know, the network is going to keep growing, and you're an amazing resource and amazing activist. I'm learning a lot from you, and I think a lot of our advocates can learn a lot from you as well. So thank you so much for taking time to share your story and to share more about your work. And, you know, I think I envision a lot of collaboration, you know, between the manual for climate education, the conference you're organizing. Let me know if there's anything we could do, or any speakers for the webinars. And just, you know, please keep posting your announcements and things in the WhatsApp, because everyone can benefit from the information we share. And so we'll keep working together in this. Thank you so much, Ewi. This was, I feel now so much joy and inspiration from our conversation. You're an amazing person, and you just emanate this like passion and really just happiness. So it's really nice. Thank you so much for your time. Have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Bye, Ewi.
Thank you very much. Enjoy your day. Bye-bye.
Everyone.